Okay, welcome back. This is the next video. The decades we're thinking of here is the 1990s. So 1990 through to 1999, going backwards of course. So we're going through 99 back. Some good tracks in here, lots of variety. As I say, listen. It's a good one. Now, things that went on at the time. Now, the big thing that happened to music, I feel, that happened at that time through that decade was file sharing. Napster file sharing took place in 1999. Okay, so it's impacted more into the next decade. But boy, didn't that shake the music industry up. Started to shake away the chains of corporate kind of the record company having so much control. But it also made the musicians quite fearful too, because they thought, oh my God, how are we going to get paid as well? So now we're starting to see some good stuff, but then it was a bit scary for people. 1997, Auto-Tune, love it or hate it, there it was, started coming in 1997. You can hear that sound when people use it. Some artists use it for the effect of the sound, and some use it because they can't sing. I love to hear a good singer, but I do understand that people like to do things with sound, so it's an interesting thing. Also in 1997, Tomislav Azalek invented the MP3 player. Now, that's great, carrying our music around digitally. Of course, we're listening to more and more music. We don't really realise how lucky we are and how easy it is to listen to a lot of good quality stuff. MP3 player had a lot to do with that. 1996, August, the search engine Google. Now, interesting, isn't it? 1996, and it's so important to us now. But that's when it first came about, and that has a big effect on music and sharing. And Google have done a lot of things as far as sharing books and maps and sounds and all sorts of stuff. So that's when they came about. 1991, the internet became available to everybody. Now, what do you think about that? I'm going to have a little sip of coffee while you get set up for this playlist. 1991. Not that long ago, but it's had a huge impact on humanity in general. So it's got to be mentioned when that started coming about. Also in 1991, Pro Tools. Now, if you're watching this as a muso, you'll know that Pro Tools was these digital analog workstations. They call them DAWs these days. And it really was one of the first, and they self-proclaimed industry standard of how you can record using your computer. So, having the same old stuff as tracks and multi-track recording, but done digitally. So, Pro Tools, I almost got one. It was a bit out of my price league at that stage, because this is the same decade that I was leaping forward into family and all that type of stuff. So, now you can get GarageBand on Mac for free. So, perhaps I'm glad I didn't spend all that money. Anyway, 1999, Peter Jackson scored the gig, or if you will, the contract for the movies The Lord of the Rings, all three of them. It was a very exciting time for me. I love those stories, and I liked what Peter Jackson had done up to that point movie wise. So I thought, this is going to be good, and of course it did turn out to be good. He filmed the whole lot from October 1999 through to December 2000. Yeah. That's really going for it. It's a year, or just over a year, to film a whole movie. Actually, a whole 3 movies, a whole big story like that. So, very impressive, and of course the movies were my favourites. They were just awesome in the next decade. So, then, 1997, the first Harry Potter book brought about. This was brought about because we felt that children weren't, J.K. Rowling was disturbed as to how little reading was taking place, and she thought that if she wrote a good book, as she did, that it would encourage children to read. She also clearly had a story within it. It's a great read, all 7, but that was when the first one was released, and she clearly had that story sorted in her head as she started. Excellent writing. Then, Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino. That was quite a cult movie, so it's worthwhile mentioning from that era. And then, of course, other world events that were particularly stunning was in 1995. Nelson Mandela handed the Rugby World Cup to the Springbok, who had won it. The amazing thing about that is he was at that stage elected leader of South Africa that had such trouble and had come to this point where Nelson Mandela, who had once been in prison, was now the leader of the country. And they got to that place pretty well, and a lot of that you could credit down to Nelson Mandela's character. So anyway, yeah, the Springboks won the World Cup. It was a great thing for rugby. It was a great thing for the world to see that take place. It was a little hard for the All Black fans because we didn't win the World Cup in 1995, and we were in the finals. We lost. Sorry, but as I say, a great event for the world, and it was good for that to take place. Carrying on. 1993. As you know, I'm into what's happening space-wise, and that was when Hubble got its repair. It was almost like it got a pair of glasses. It was slightly out of focus when it first was installed, much to everyone's horror. Can you imagine being the project leader of that team? Oh, poor man. But they very cleverly, as these people often do, came up with a fix. They installed it, and when it popped into focus, it was like, oh my God. Such a world to see, well, world's the wrong thing, such a universe to see. And from Hubble, it's been one of the most breakthrough scientific tools they have had. 1991, this is the sad part of world events. If you recall, if you're around that time, or if you look back through your history, this is when the AIDS epidemic really was hitting the planet. And in 1991, we had lost Freddie Mercury, which to me was a bit sad. It was terribly sad. I felt he had so much more to say musically, and therefore to lose him was sad, but it's also reflective of us all having lost someone special to us over that time. In fact, it was the fourth biggest killer in the 90s. So that had impact. Of course, still chucking rockets at each other. 1990, the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, when Kuwait was invaded. And of course, in 1990, Nelson Mandela was released and became the leader of South Africa. That was a really move forward moment for humanity. And I believe that's a good note for us to finish this little introduction on the 90s. A lot of progress made in lots and lots of eras. Have a listen. Enjoy. See you in the 80s.